You know, in our quest for health, food is probably the most important. And getting people to eat the right foods sometimes is really difficult, and that's why we have to supplement with other things. We have joining us today Jason Derkevics, who is sort of my go-to guy, because I know that whenever there's something grown by nature, I know it's going to be good. I know it's going to be healthy. And I really appreciate what Jason brings to us. And one of the people that he has brought to us is Dr. Llewellyn, which I know everybody enjoys tremendously. He has a holistic view of nature. He's devoted his life to developing and teaching self-healing through holistic nutrition. He joins us from the UK also today. He studied the crucial role of soil vitality in health and nutrition. And he graduated from the British College of Naturopathy and Osteopathy in London. So I really welcome and I thank you very much, Jason and Dr. Llewellyn, to the Power Hour today. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Jason, I want to begin with Jason real quickly here and say, Jason, you came out with this new item called Beta-Glucan, which I've known about for a long time, and I was really thrilled to see that you had created or that you all have have formulated. But out of all the things that you could be producing, what was it, Jason, about Beta-Glucan that said that needs to be the next one on our list of items that we have?
Well, as you pointed out, I've heard about them for quite a long time, and when I was working at that other health company that I first began with, we carried a Beta-Glucan product, and it was remarkable as to what it did. As far as the immune system, antibacterial, antiviral properties. And when I discovered that our manufacturer was also producing a whole food form with this renatured growth technology, I was more than excited to then bring this product to the forefront with Grown by Nature. I knew it was the perfect time to also introduce this line.
Excellent. Well, Dr. Llewellyn, who joins us from the UK, is a formulator and educator on a number of the Grown by Nature items. And Dr. Llewellyn, again, I thank you for joining us today also. And what is it that, if you were just to give us a synopsis of what is so important about Beta-Glucan, what would that be?
I think it's a very powerful antioxidant, and what particularly appeals to me about it is that it works on so many parts of the immune system, as Jason said, the antiviral, and there are just so many things it does which normal antioxidants can't, just don't do. And there were many years in developing this particular beta-glucan, because most beta-glucans are products which contain what's known standardized 1,3 and 1,6 glucans, which means they're chemicals put into it. Now, they do work, make no mistake, and they're certainly good products, but when you get the whole food, which is from the cell wall, and you have them both linked together, just the results are so much better. But the particular things that interested me were just the work that the 1,3 glucan does, with our immune system, really, in protecting against a range of cancers. The 1,6 protects against another range of cancers, coincidentally. But the 1,3 I particularly like because it works with Hep C and herpes and papilloma and all of these other things. But when you have them both together, when they are grown together, I should say grown by nature and give Jason a plug, but when they are grown together, their effectiveness is much more in harmony, if I can use that rather loose term, or I can give you the complex bit about how they are glucan polysaccharides. But the clinical effect is they just work much better when they're in this naturally grown form, and I particularly like them for a whole range of things. They're absolutely excellent for radiation therapy and for skin. A lot of very expensive cosmetic houses in Europe actually use 1,3 glucan as a chemical, admittedly, for a lot of their cosmetics, and it's probably the most active part, where if you've got the 1,3 and the 1,6 in the glucan, along with other glucans in that natural matrix or complex, they're just so much better than these individual ones. But I don't have a problem with the individual ones. They're just not as good as this one.
But then what is beta-glucan? What does that mean to those of us who are not microbiologists?
Oh, well, no, I'm a weird sort of person, but they're actually technically they're polysaccharide carbohydrates. In other words, this particular polysaccharide comes from the sugars that are naturally found in cell walls and in other parts of the cell. And so they're particular groups of sugars. They can be actually, quite interestingly, up to 10,000 different sugars. But they're basically polysaccharide carbohydrates, but they're the glucan form of polysaccharide carbohydrates. Or if you want to do it another way, you can say they're actually non-branched polymers of glucose, but not free glucose, the glucose that is native to plant cells. Is that too complicated or not waffling too much?
Okay, no, it isn't, but then...
I can give you the chemistry if you want to.
No, that's okay, please. No, who would be the people that are interested in beta-glucan? Why would I or anyone be interested in beta-glucan?
Well, may I make a slight qualification? I think under some circumstances, the maitake mushroom version of the beta-glucan 1,6 are a bit more effective with some particular types of cancer, but I never use the 1,6 by itself. We've always used the 1,3-1,6 combination. The 1,3 and 1,6, its antibacterial and antiviral properties are more profound in vitamin C and several other forms. Now, the antioxidant activity, actually, with the 1,3 and 1,6 in this combination has been used very successfully, even with things like tuberculosis. But the ironic thing is, while this is coming from a yeast cell wall, the 1,3 and 1,6 is very, very profound in stopping types of detrimental yeasts and Candida albicans within the gut. It actually stops it, and it's quite remarkable. Now, this research is really, there's quite a lot of research, and it's mainly done in Scandinavia and some parts of America. But the other thing with the 1,3 will do, it will enhance the function of the suppressor T cells, and that's why we get this tremendous antiviral that seems to work much better than some of the normal antioxidants. Even the 1,3-1,6 will actually do different functions to a normal antioxidant complex, even an excellent one, which is what Jason carries. This will do much, much more in terms of how it gets to the root of papilloma. And I don't know if papilloma is a big thing in America at the moment, but it's going through Europe rather crazily. But we've also seen that there's a lot of doctors actually who now prescribe, and in America 1,3 as an antiviral, although it's the chemical. My plug would be that you should use the 1,3 and 1,6 together because they both help each other's function, if that makes any sense.
All right.
The one thing we particularly found, when you use the 1,3 and the 1,6 combination in conjunction with chemo or radiotherapy, it's particularly useful for melanoma, leukemia. Those two particularly, it seems to help the patient through that, which is rather interesting.
Okay.
More so than a lot of other nutrients that I've ever found anyway, and it's now used in several clinics and hospitals around, particularly to help support people with their leukemia or melanomas.
It helps to stimulate the production of collagen by the fibroblast. Why is that?
It will do that, yes. The other thing that is particularly useful for is it protects the Langerhans cells, and it can delay I think what it's doing is, when we did some cell line work, the cells get much more protection. Now, the pathway is not fully understood, Joyce, but we did find a very, very enhanced the Langerhans cells are much more enhanced, and we moved from that to say we now give it, and we're doing trials in the forest with some diabetes type 2, where we find the cells better. The therapy we use out there is much, much more effective once we introduce the beta-glucans as well.
Okay, and you're saying Langerhans cells, that being of the pancreas, so people will know where the Langerhans cells are.
Yes.
Okay, so it affects the immune system, and of course a lot of people are concerned about AIDS, they're concerned about cancer, they're concerned about various forms of cancer, Kaposi's sarcoma. Can this ameliorate their condition, improve their condition with any of these problems?
This Beta-Glucan combination has been found to increase in the serum IL-1 and IL-2 with HIV-positive people. So we know that there's some other research going on at the moment. By the way, there's also some work out of the Anderson Center in America years ago, probably 25 years ago, showing IL-1, the interleukin 1 and 2, was much more increased in the serum. But other studies are showing that with HIV, or let's call it acquired immune deficiency system, because I think AIDS is a much more accurate thing than just the virus, then we do know that beta-glucans are really making a substantial difference to those interleukins.
And so, really, who is the person that's interested in taking beta-glucan?
Oh, well, let's start with not getting ill.
Okay, let's start with a commercial, unfortunately. We'll be back after this 4-minute break with Dr. Llewellyn and Jason Derkevics, and we'll talk about why Grown by Nature. Why is it Grown by Nature so much better? After we talk about who it would be interested. Welcome back to Power Hour. Thank you for joining us. Caring about your world, treating your body like a temple, not a dumpster. We're talking to Jason Derkevics, who has Grown by Nature and has been such a supportive person for the Power Hour for so long in providing us the best vitamin mineral products. And before we go back into the discussion we were going to talk about with Dr. Llewellyn about why beta-glucan, or why would somebody want to use beta-glucan, Jason, what is different about Grown by Nature that you think is so impressive that you've kind of devoted your life to that?
Well, thank you again, Joyce, for having us on and allowing us to share our message.
Sure.
The simple answer I can give you is that we are part of a food chain. We are meant to derive our nutrients from plants or the animals that feed upon the plants. And those plants, and they're part of the food chain, derive their nutrients from the soil. And with other supplements, they're basically digging out of the soil and skipping the middleman, the plants. The process of when these nutrients are fed into the plants through natural processes embeds these nutrients naturally within the plant cells. And our bodies are then able to receive these nutrients in a food matrix with proteins, complex carbohydrates, fatty acids, enzymes, lipids, and so on and so forth. When you're taking the chemical form, which is made in pharmaceutical laboratories, more than 99% of the products that are available on the market, they are free of proteins. They don't have any type of food structure, and they're basically a product that doesn't have any living energy or any vitality. When Grown by Nature offers us these nutrients, they're in a food form that your body recognizes as food, and they're shown in multiple peer-reviewed studies that they're not only better absorbed, but they're better retained and better utilized within the body. With regards to absorption, there's so much talk about supplements and how this one is absorbed better than this one, and this one's absorbed better than that one. But the question we should be asking about our supplements is, well, how are they utilized within the body? I mean, arsenic can even be absorbed into the body, but is your body going to receive any benefit from it? With our nutrients, every single one of our nutrients has been shown clinically and, again, in peer-reviewed studies that they do absorb better, but most importantly, that they're utilized within the body in the proper way. When I first began my supplemental review program, before I even heard about these renatured food-structured nutrients that we now offer with Grown by Nature, I was bombarded with, I used to be a product manager, and I was bombarded with several different submissions for supplements and analyzing each one versus the competitor, and should we launch this product versus that product. They were all virtually the same. I mean, there's only a handful of pharmaceutical companies that are supplying the same exact nutrients across the board. And a lot of times my customers will call me and say, well, what about this product, or what about that product? is this one better than that one? And I say, well, all you need to do is basically turn the bottle around, and you'll see that they're virtually the same. They're just different marketing, different packaging. What we offer is a complete food structure versus a chemical.
Mm-hmm. And it is much, much different than an average vitamin or mineral. Would you agree with that? And what else would you add to that, Dr. Llewellyn?
Well, I think Jason does an excellent story. I tend to confuse people a little bit. But the essence of it is a lot of people now call their thing food this or that, and they put some soya powder in it and then put some zinc sulfate or something in it, saying it's got protein and zinc. What then you miss, essentially, is the delivery mechanism. Now, nutrients, whether they're from food or Jason's supplements, have intrinsic enzyme signaling and other signaling that goes on because it's a whole food. And we can say Jason's Grown by Nature supplements are concentrated whole foods. It is those intrinsic enzyme signals and peptide signals that come with the food that determine if it can be used by the body. So it's not good enough just to have a bit of protein in with a chemical isolate. It won't work. And let's remember one thing. The Nobel Prize was won in 1999 by Dr. Blobel for saying exactly that. Nutrients have to be delivered by peptides, and the peptides have to have their intrinsic signaling, and that is what Jason's offering, that no other company really is offering. And that's how food works, is what I would say. You've got to have the full delivery address if you're going to deliver the letter. And Jason's nutrients do have that. The chemical ones, whether you put soya with it or whatever you put with it, you're still dealing with a chemical that does not have the complete delivery address within the body, so it cannot be utilized. Most of these
we'll be back. We've got a 3-minute break, sir. We'll be back after this break with Dr. Llewellyn and Jason Derkevics and Beta-Glucan. 33 minutes after the hour. Thank you for joining us wherever you're sitting. It's all about your health. And the Grown by Nature products are available at the Power Mall. People love them, swear by them, use them all the time. And I encourage you to start out with, if you've never tried the Grown by Nature multivitamins, start out with those first and build up from there. I don't know what I would do without the magnesium. That is one of my absolute favorites. You use that too, JD?
Every day, magnesium, both the chelated and the oil.
Do you use it at nighttime? Do you use it at night?
I do before I go to bed. And that's because Josh told me it would help me sleep, and he's very right.
Yeah. And I take 2 of the Grown by Nature magnesiums every night when I go to bed, and appreciate them very, very much. And, of course, if you get restless legs, which, by the way, is a new DSM-5.
Right.
Restless legs is a psychiatric diagnosis now.
It's psychiatric now.
Yes.
Not you need to go take a walk, but...
No. Or take magnesium.
Right.
It's a new psychiatric diagnosis. I don't know if you do that or not. It really is, truly. I got the DSM-5 the other day. Anyway, we're talking about those items that you can take, hopefully, to ameliorate or improve your conditions. And the one thing about Beta-Glucan is that it has been recognized for so long as being beneficial to the immune system. But other than somebody wanting to improve their immune system, I mean, who would be the candidate for taking Beta-Glucan? Everybody wants to improve their immune system, but who would want to spend? And I will tell you the price of it, which I don't think is out of line at all. It's $33, I believe it is $99 for the Beta-Glucan. Who would be a person that would want Beta-Glucan, and why, Dr. Llewellyn?
Well, I think people going through any form of cancer therapy should really have it. I mean, the studies are showing, I forget, but I will send it to you. I mean, done in Japan and also in New York, showing that the beta-glucans were shrinking some tumors by over 80%. This is medical. This isn't mumbo-jumbo. Some tumors by 80%. And they work with myomycin and other pharmaceuticals. They actually boost the benefit of some pharmaceuticals while reducing the other thing. And I've seen so many people get so much benefit from this who are undergoing various forms of cancer. But it's one wasn't going through that horrible experience, I would absolutely take it, because unlike many antioxidants have different routes within the body. Because of the proteins attached to the beta-glucans, they're doing other routes to protect the immune system and make them work. My own view is anybody over about 45 really should be taking this, and for the ladies, I can tell the ladies it really does significantly help your skin. Why it doesn't with men, I don't know, or maybe the men don't talk about it, but it really does with the ladies. I would take it, and I do take it, for a very simple reason. It's doing part of my immune system, and I've done my own bloods to have a look. It's doing things with the HbA1c and all of those sort of cholesterol markers that the other ones aren't getting to for some reason so effectively. Now, I know the chromium and the other things will work there, but the beta-glucans are doing other markers as well, and I think it's because they have the mannoproteins and all the other things attached to it. They can go down, if you like, all the country roads to visit the pretty villages instead of just the main highways, which is what the main antioxidants do. But I think also it's terribly important, I'll be very, very brief, people who take all these low-fat foods, and I would rather sillily say whatever they are, but if you're taking these low-fat foods, I would absolutely take the beta-glucans without one shadow of a doubt, because it stops a lot of the damage.
Interesting. Now, the dietary source is it from maitake mushrooms, reishi mushrooms? Is that where it comes from?
Baker's yeast. And the irony about it is that it actually stops yeast infections in the gut, because we do not have the long-chain polypeptides or the allergens in the yeast wall. Yeast allergens are caused by long-chain polypeptides. They're all removed before Jason gets the beta-glucans, so we take the nasties away and just leave the good stuff. And the clinical study is showing beta-glucans, the 1316 together as a beta-glucan complex, actually cutting down candida dramatically, thrush, even herpes in the mouth as well as other areas. And the antiviral thing is quite spectacular. It really is.
I was noticing in some of the information provided that beta-glucan may reduce, and of course we have to use that term may all the time, may reduce the death rate from anthrax. I thought that was fascinating. And from mycobacterium TB.
Also, I heard somebody talking about arsenic earlier on. The beta-glucan has been used a long time in India for the arsenic eaters who eat enough arsenic each day to poison about 20 people. But why they eat it, I have no idea. But they're a well-known group. But they always take beta-glucans as well, which I find interesting.
Very interesting, yes.
Also, we'll ameliorate a tremendous amount of damage from fluoride. And I was partly responsible with some other people getting fluoride banned in Holland years ago. The damage that fluoride does to some cells, beta-glucans will protect against it. And make no mistake, this comes through in drinking water, whatever they say. They just change the molecule of fluoride.
Really? So it will help in fluoride? With fluoride, that is amazing. Will it help the brain or help the body?
It helps the brain and the physical cells, so it helps the mechanics and, if you like, the main computer being the brain, but it also helps vitality of the cells as well. And we've used that years ago, preparing people from fluoride particularly.
That is interesting.
Toothpaste, shampoos and everything, you breathe it in every day.
We're working very hard to get it, removed from the water around the country. Our listeners are, so that's good to know.
The molecule, and it'll still be the same thing. What you have to do is protect yourself, and it's in so many things nowadays. It's just horrible stuff. It's a poison. It should never be used. There are no health benefits from it, whatever the dentists say. In fact, fluoride actually causes dental decay, erosion of the enamel of the gum. I don't know if you know that. It physically does. Those studies are out there, and they've been suppressed, but they're on the internet. Fluoride damages your gums, damages the enamel on the teeth. But beta-glucans actually help protect against that.
Now, when you mentioned earlier about the regeneration of the islands of Langerhans, now that's been seen in the past to be like an impossible project. Now, explain what islands of Langerhans are.
Beta-glucans will do that.
And now explain what the islands of Langerhans are and why that's so important, though, to diabetics. Well,
where to start really is the main thing. First of all, they're a small we can say they're a small group of cells, and the easiest way to describe it is saying they're scattered around the pancreas. Their biological function is, the insulin is produced by beta cells, which are part of the islets. Things like the pancreatic polypeptides and other materials like that, and glucagon and things like that, things that are produced within a certain group of cells that are beneficial for our health, and especially for keeping blood sugar and other things under regulation. Let's just say mainly it's to do with pancreatic and insulin. The insulin regulation is dependent on the beta cells. Beta cells are dependent on the islets, and once the islets start going, the beta cells start going, and then that's where we start all the diabetes off and things like that. There are some other substances that will enhance it, such as vitamin B3, which will enhance the islets. Funny enough, also lipoic acid, but very, very restricted precise is the function of lipoic acid, so it's probably best you don't mention that. But the other thing that is the best thing, really, is the beta-glucans that protects the islets, and also it encourages the regeneration of them. And as I said earlier on, it's also responsible for increasing the interleukins, the beneficial interleukins. Is that an answer people understand? Yes, often people say, absolutely. I don't speak in English.
Absolutely. All right, again, if you were to take any 4 of the Grown by Nature items, if you just wanted to improve your own health and you didn't take any of these and you were just starting out and you wanted to choose 4 of them, what do you think would be the 4, not just so much relative to you, but relative to any person?
To anybody, the multivitamin and mineral, without a shadow of a doubt. And please bear in mind that the chemical forms of multivitamin and mineral, whether they're called natural or not, some of the minerals should not be taken within 8 hours of some of the vitamins. That is a factual piece of biochemistry that any of your listeners can go and look up in the public library. They shouldn't mix those two. You can in the food state, so it's the multivitamin without a shadow of a doubt. The second one I would take without exception is the magnesium. The third one I would take, which I do take, I like to take my chromium with the other antioxidants, and I take a lot of selenium. But I now take, and have done for the last, year, the Beta-Glucans every day. And I take those because I travel a lot. I probably do 150,000 miles a year on aeroplanes, and the Beta-Glucans I know is helping to protect me when I fly as well. So without question, the multivitamin, then the magnesium, then either the chromium with antioxidants or the antioxidants. I always like my selenium, and then I take the Beta-Glucans. They're the 5 I travel with. I actually travel with those 5.
Interesting. I'd like to open up the phone line.
Improvement to sleep between the combination of time zones messing me about with the glucans and the magnesium and the multivitamin is just tremendous.
Excellent. I'd like to open up the phone lines, and if there is anybody who has a question that's taking any of the items, that has a question about the Grown by Nature or would like to take Grown by Nature, give us a call at 855-995-6923, 855-995-6923. Now, being a physician and interested in natural medicine, of course, we know diet is important, but you mentioned, improving where we are, you mentioned antiviral being Beta-Glucan.
Yes. And all these studies are there. I'm very happy to show you. The 1,3 and the 1,6 glucans work. They are absolutely, they suppress viral activity. And as far as the fungal, the research that not only we've done, but it's been published elsewhere on Candida, thrush, and on yeast overgrowth, it is remarkable what it does. It just stops it. It prevents it building up. That's a very key thing. Bacterial and viral diseases actually are mainly prevented with good beta-glucans.
What would you recommend for an antifungal for a person?
You mean apart from diet?
Correct, yes.
Antifungal, I would look to the beta-glucans. There's no question about that. I would also
for
look
antifungal,
to
really?
The beta-glucans. For antifungal, yes. I'd also look for the zinc. And I think, are we talking about gut or under nails or things like that?
Well, I was thinking more in terms of fungal infections that become more systemic, like cancer.
Oh, those. Funnily enough, one of the old things that used to be used particularly well was they used to use honey in the olden days, and it worked very well. But we don't get proper honey anymore. Mainly, I would probably go on antifungals with things like zinc and antioxidants. I really would. I need to, if you gave me very specific things, are you talking about these underlying things that then become cancerous, what we used to call morbid matter?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, certainly I would use the diet on that, and I would use some of the minerals like to reduce that morbid matter generating in the first place, and they would be on the minerals, whether you got those in the multivitamin or not. But you have to bear in mind one thing: without the magnesium, the cells can't get rid of the toxic waste and the other morbid matter. But zinc particularly, I always would go to, and things like chromium to stop that build-up of as a broad antifungal. But there's absolutely no question that the detrimental fungus. I mean, the old thing we used to use in the old days was caprylic acid. In fact, I still do it. And I heard your advertisement people talking about silver, which is excellent for it. What is not commonly known is iodine is a very, very effective antifungal. And it worries me so many ladies just don't get enough iodine nowadays, and it's the wrong form. But I would definitely use those. I definitely would.
Okay, you said that women don't get enough what? You said women don't get enough what? Iodine. Okay, iodine. Yeah. Got it. Okay,
and the standard potassium iodide is not terribly effective. It's a wonderful medicine, make no mistake about that. But is it the best? No.
So the best form of iodine is what?
Well, apart from my advertisement for Jason's company, I would say that is the most effective we've ever found. I mean, yes, I know a lot of people use iodized salt, which is not too bad, but there's quite a bit of iodine in other things, if you can get good quality, organically fed and organically reared chicken eggs. But one of the other things that is particularly valuable for iodine, not a lot of people know, is pineapple. But you have to make it... Yes, you have to make it get ripe. And I think it's something... They're about 20-odd micrograms for every sort of, I think, 70 or 80 kilograms of pineapple you eat. But you have to make it, let it get ripe. And for goodness sake, don't throw away the stem, because that's where the bromelain is. The other things that contain iodine, which is very good, and it's not an iodide, it is an iodine, things like spinach, fennel, lettuces. There's a whole group of vegetables. I just beg people not to get that from too much animal products like pork, because pork is not good for women particularly anyway.
Let me go to Steve in Virginia. Steve in Virginia, you're on the air with Dr. Llewellyn and Jason Derkevics. Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. We're dealing with a couple of issues. The one is ringing in the ears, that situation, and also there are times when the small blood vessels just under the skin of the forearm break, and we see little spots of blood. But so those are two issues we're trying to deal with and find out solutions for.
The first thing I would say, are you talking about capillary fragility when you're seeing these on the arm? Are they on
capillary fragility, or what we would say here, capillary fragility? Yeah, I think that's what he's talking about.
Are they on any other parts of the body, or mainly the forearm?
I think he's thinking maybe the forearm.
Forearms.
Okay, lots of questions. I would ask Jason for a lot of bioflavonoids, and if he hasn't got any, I'll make sure he jolly well gets some to send to you. There's a particular group of flavonoids that work particularly well with the capillaries, and I will... Jason, if you email me, I'll send this gentleman something. As far as the ear, are we talking about tinea ringing in the ears?
Yes.
Yes, I guess they say, is it...
You've got to start with the gut. Again, a little tincture of iodine we used to use years ago, but the other things that are particularly good for that are zinc and silver from the mineral round. But And the other one is you use the vitamin C via flavonoids. Jason's got. I've used that before.
All right. We got to go to this break. We've got a 3-minute break, 50 after the hour. Thank you very much, Steve. Gail, you're up next. Stay tuned to the Power Hour. This is Joyce and JD. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Seed Vault at mypatriotsupply.com.
Welcome back to Power Hour. Thank you for joining us. Jason Derkevics and Dr. Llewellyn joining us from the UK. He is a physician. His main focus is food. And taking care of, curing things with food, eliminating problems with food, and that's how he got involved in the products that we're talking about here, which are food-based. And we're very grateful to have Grown by Nature's Jason Derkevics and Dr. Llewellyn joining us today. I think the question on the table was regarding ringing of the ears. A lot of people have that, and you say it starts in the gut. Is that correct?
Just go back, because I forgot one of the most important things about the beta-glucans. They actually will work to prevent cross-linking happening, which is terribly important. So I just thought I'd mention that. Because, so much of the aging in diabetes is to do with cross-linking, which goes back to the HbA1c stuff. But, ears, a lot of it, if it's a fungal ear thing, then we always used to look to the gut for that. And, yes, that's what we used to do. There are a load of old sort of historic recipes that we use with various herbs and things like that, which I would be waffling if I told you any more about it at the moment. But no, that's what we did. And a lot of hearing loss does come with cross-linking as well, of course. But the tinnitus that we were talking about, the other one that's useful in that is manganese, which you get adequate in Jason's multivitamin, and then some extra zinc. And I think 3 of Jason's zinc a day would be fine, and there's no toxicity issue with that zinc whatsoever. I would definitely do that. We have used in the past Q10. It doesn't work as well without the other antioxidants, and But no, I think that's where I would definitely go, is to get a decent gut cleanse and to stop any overgrowth with tinnitus, if that's what the gentleman's talking about. But if he writes to Jason, I'd be more than happy to do a detailed thing and send you a copy, Joyce.
Thank you very much. And also, ladies and gentlemen, just
choline, by the way, used to be an old-fashioned remedy of getting tinnitus under control, and it used to work as well.
And what was?
Choline with vitamin D.
Choline, okay. And just to remind you, we give no medical advice. This is for your educational and entertainment purposes only. Let's go to Gail in New Jersey. Gail, you're on the air. Go ahead, please, with Dr. Llewellyn and Jason.
Yes, thank you. Dr. Llewellyn, I have an autoimmune condition, and I was wondering if the beta-glucans would be able to stabilize that.
Yes, it's a very broad subject. I'm very happy to write to you about it, but there's probably no broader... You've got your vitamins and minerals and things like that. That's all fine. Underneath that, there's a secondary system within the body, which incidentally, Joyce, also works with the limbic system. And for immune enhancement, I've found that beta-glucans add significantly to what the other nutrients do. But if you took the general thing of autoimmune disease, which are generally unrelated disorders of inflammation, then yes, I would definitely be looking at the beta-glucans. But I can give you very specific advice, and it's all free of charge, of course, if you'd like to write to me on it. But I would definitely take your beta-glucans. What sort of immune thing? If you don't want to talk about it on the air, that's fine.
A recent blood test revealed that my thyroid antibodies were very high.
Yes, okay. Well, I'm very happy to reply to that. Were there any other blood markers?
The AC1 was a little high?
Yes. If you would like to write to Jason, I'd be more than happy within 2 weeks to reply to you, as opposed to 2 months, what people often say.
Wow. And
but you must take your magnesium if you've got that.
Okay, we've got a 1 minute, 10-second break, and I'm going to ask him what is the typical daily dose for Beta-Glucan after this 1 minute, 10-second break. Stay tuned. We'll be back. Jason, Dr. Llewellyn, this is Joyce, and JD. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Power Hour. Final segment with Dr. Llewellyn and with Jason Derkevics on the Power Hour today. We're going to be joined by the Moriartys in the next segment. So we'll be talking about Libya and the tragedy that's going on there that nobody's really hearing that much about, and for probably a reason. We'll talk about that. Dr. Llewellyn, who is an osteopathic physician, is joining us today from the UK. Is such an amazing person when it comes to food, diet, grown by nature vitamins.
Forever for free. Limited number of free programs available. Call now 1-888-912-1595.
I don't know what that is.
912-1595. I was wondering myself. 1-888-912-1595.
Sounds like a commercial, doesn't it? Sounds like a Genesis thing to me. Anyway, what is the typical daily dose for Beta-Glucan?
Well, the ones that Jason's got, I would take it 2.
2.
I would,
2 per
yes.
day. Okay.
Yes. Now, I would have to say they take between 6 and 12 weeks to really get into the system. So you either increase it by taking 4, and that will be all usable. These beta-glucans are highly bioavailable, very highly bioavailable, and I would, if you want something quicker, then you move 4 a day. When I'm traveling, I take 4. But 2 is good.
Okay, let's go to Lynn in Indiana. Lynn in Indiana, you're on the air. Go ahead, please, with Dr. Llewellyn and Jason Derkevics. Go ahead, please.
Hi, I have a question. I've been going through a lot of basal cell removals over the last 4 or 5 years for skin cancer, and I'm currently going to actually start a regimen of chemo gel on my face, and I was wondering if there's any way I can prevent these.
Was it a carcinoma?
Basal and squamous cells.
Okay. Well, I would go back to diet 100%. Are you vegetarian?
No.
I would strongly suggest that. The evidence is that if I put it bluntly, life expectancy increases by 40% according to the British Medical Association and the American Medical Association if you turn vegetarian. Okay. It goes higher if you exclude dairy. So I would definitely look to become vegetarian for a period of time to help the healing. And if you can't do that, whatever you do, avoid pork products in all their forms. The other things that I would particularly strongly suggest for basal cell that has tons of information on is the selenium, without question. I would also be looking to make sure your diet produces an alkali gut, not an acid gut. That is terribly important. Cancers are very difficult to grow if your gut is slightly alkali. And I would definitely take the multivitamin and the magnesium that Jason has. But that's a snapshot. If you write to me, I will give you much more information.
Okay, thank you.
But the vegetarian thing is, you forget everything else. This is about your health, and that is proven to work.
All right. Thank you very much for the phone call. Give us an idea of what you're going to have for your diet today. Everybody always likes to hear this. What will you be eating, or what did you eat since you're in the UK? What did you eat today?
Well, believe it or not, I haven't had lunch yet. I think it's going to be coming soon. I'll tell you exactly what it'll be. It'll be a green salad, a bean salad, jacket potato, and big grated beetroot.
Well, that's what you eat every day? That's what you eat every day?
Probably 4 to 5 days a week. That's my main meal. I love it, and then I supplement that with, in the morning I have generally some fruit with some yogurt, or I will have porridge, which I soak overnight in apple juice and add some raisins to, and I put a bit of honey on it in the morning, and I like that. One of the key essences with raw food that people get terrible, they eat all this raw food and then they get spots in everything because they don't chew it, Joyce. If you don't drink your food, you don't get the real benefit of it, and they just chew it and swallow it. they won't get the benefit. Chew. Then this evening I will probably again have my my raw food, which I like. Sorry,
all right.
boring.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. We're